Imagine a man named Carlos. He had always dreamed of having a comfortable life, traveling to incredible places, and securing a safe future for his family. Since he was young, he worked hard, studied, and got a great job. His salary was above average, something many would consider enough to build wealth over time. But despite this, the years went by, and Carlos remained in the same financial position. He earned well, but never managed to save money. Carlos didn't understand why this was happening. "Am I earning too little?" he thought. But that didn't make sense. He saw people with smaller salaries than his thriving, investing, and even buying real estate. The problem wasn't how much he earned, but rather what he did with the money. What Carlos didn't know was that 97% of people make financial mistakes that sabotage their chances of becoming wealthy. These are small, seemingly harmless daily habits that over time drain all the money without the person even noticing. These financial traps are responsible for keeping many people stuck in an endless cycle of work and bills, never reaching financial freedom. The good news, identifying and eliminating these habits can completely transform your financial life. And that's exactly what happened to Carlos when he decided to learn more about money. As soon as he started paying attention to the traps he was falling into, everything changed. And what about you? Are you also making these mistakes without realizing? In the next topics, we'll uncover each of these habits that prevent people from getting rich and what you can do to escape this trap once and for all. Carlos never considered himself a big spender. He didn't buy luxury cars, didn't take extravagant trips every month, and didn't flaunt designer clothes. So why did his money disappear so quickly? One day, he decided to take a closer look at his expenses. He grabbed a notebook and started writing down everything he bought. At first, it seemed silly. A coffee here, a snack there, a streaming subscription, a paid app he didn't even remember subscribing to. Small amounts that seemed insignificant. But when he added everything up at the end of the month, Carlos was shocked. He was losing hundreds of dollars on things he didn't even notice. It was as if his money was slipping through an invisible drain. And the worst part, this happens to most people. We spend without realizing, and by the time we notice, we're already out of money before the next paycheck. This is true financial suicide. Without tracking where every penny goes, it's impossible to have control over your financial life. Small expenses, when added up, can ruin any budget, no matter how big the salary. The solution: track every expense. Carlos started writing down everything he spent, every coffee, every grocery store purchase, every app subscription. Soon he realized he could cut several expenses without even missing them. He swapped street coffee for coffee made at home, canceled services he didn't use, and started shopping more consciously. The result? For the first time, he managed to save money at the end of the month. If you also feel like your money disappears without explanation, try this test. Write down all your expenses for a month. You might be surprised by what you discover. And this is just the first step to getting out of the financial trap and starting to build wealth. Carlos was starting to understand where his money was going, but there was still a bigger problem. He noticed that even with cutting small expenses, his salary never seemed to be enough. The truth came to light when he analyzed his lifestyle. Since he started earning well, Carlos wanted to reward his efforts. He allowed himself a few small extravagances, a state-of-the-art phone on installment, dinners at nice restaurants on weekends, branded clothes he didn't need but thought suited his professional image. Without realizing it, he was living a lifestyle beyond what his budget could afford. And the worst part, he wasn't alone. Many people do this to maintain an image of success. After all, no one wants to seem like they don't have money, right? The problem is that this pursuit of status leads to excessive credit use and debt. The credit card becomes an invisible trap, creating the illusion that we can buy now and pay later. But that later comes with high interest rates, making everything even harder. Carlos realized that if he kept going like this, he would never break free from the paycheck dependency cycle. So, he made a decision to start spending less than he earned. He began analyzing his fixed expenses and cutting what wasn't essential. Instead of changing his phone every year, he decided to keep the same one until it was really necessary to replace it. He reduced dining out and started cooking more at home. He stopped buying clothes on impulse and started investing only in what he truly needed. The change was difficult at first, but soon Carlos began to feel the benefits. For the first time, he had money left at the end of the month. He finally started building an emergency fund and, little by little, began investing. If you feel like you're always financially tight, maybe you're living beyond your means. The secret to getting rich isn't how much you earn, but how much you can save and invest. Adjust your lifestyle now and build the financial security you deserve. Carlos was starting to feel more in control of his financial life. He had stopped spending recklessly, adjusted his lifestyle, and was managing to save. But there was still something that made him feel insecure. He was completely dependent on his salary to live. Every time his boss delayed his payment or an unexpected expense arose, he felt a tightness in his chest. If he lost his job, how would he pay his bills? How would he provide for his family? This constant worry made him realize he still didn't have total financial freedom. That's when Carlos started noticing something that financially successful people did. They never relied on a single source of income. While he worked just to earn money, the rich made money work for them. He realized that if he wanted financial security, he needed to find ways to earn money beyond his salary. At first, it seemed complicated. How could someone who worked all day find other sources of income? But little by little, Carlos discovered that there were many possibilities. He started small, selling things he no longer used. Then, he studied investments and learned how to make his money grow. He realized he could use his skills to earn extra money by offering online consulting in his free time. Slowly, this extra money began to grow, and one day he realized something incredible. His money was working for him, not the other way around. For the first time, he felt like he was building a future where he wouldn't have to rely solely on his salary to survive. If you feel like your financial life is fragile, ask yourself, if my salary stopped today, how long could I live without worries? If the answer is not long, maybe it's time to find new sources of income and learn how to make your money grow. After all, true financial freedom comes when you no longer have to trade your time for money all the time. Carlos was already on a better path. He controlled his spending, lived within his means, saved part of his salary, and even found ways to make extra money. But there was still a big mistake he needed to fix. He was leaving his money stagnant. He had always heard that saving money was important, so he kept it all in a savings account. But one day, while talking to a friend, he learned that this wasn't enough. His money, sitting idle in the savings account, was losing value over time. That's when Carlos understood a concept that would change his life. Money that doesn't grow shrinks. Inflation makes things more expensive every year, so if the money isn't growing faster than inflation, it's losing purchasing power. He started studying investments and found out that there were various ways to make money work for him. At first, he was afraid. After all, no one had ever taught him how to invest. But he realized that the wealthy don't just depend on work. They make money grow through smart investments. Carlos started slow, putting a small part of his savings into low-risk investments. As he learned more, he diversified, investing in assets that gave him returns over time. Little by little, he noticed that, even without doing anything, his money was growing. The result? After some time, he not only had an emergency fund, but also extra income from his investments. The money that once sat idle was now generating more money. If you're not investing yet, you might be missing out on one of the biggest opportunities to build wealth. The secret of the rich is not just making money, but making it work for them. The sooner you start, the faster you'll see the results. Carlos felt like he was finally in control of his financial life. He wasn't spending without thinking, had reduced his debts, saved every month, and even started looking for new income sources. But still, something felt off. His money was there, sitting in the savings account, and he didn't see real growth. One day, while talking to a friend who understood finance, he heard something that made him rethink everything. "Carlos, did you know that leaving money sitting in the savings account makes you lose money?" That sounded strange. How could he lose money? He was saving. But then his friend explained something Carlos had never thought about: inflation. Every year, prices go up: food, housing, transportation, everything. If your money doesn't grow at the same pace, it means that in practice, it's worth less over time. That's when Carlos realized that saving money and investing money are two completely different things. He had always thought that simply saving would be enough to ensure a secure future. But now he understood that if he didn't make the money work for him, he would always be chasing after it. The fear of investing. Carlos had never invested before. To him, investing seemed complicated, risky, and only for the rich or experts. He was afraid of losing money, but as he researched more, he realized it was simply a lack of knowledge. He found that there were safe, accessible investments that anyone could start, even with little money. He didn't need to be a stock market expert or understand everything about the financial market. He just needed to start slow and learn little by little. That's when he decided to take the first step. Instead of leaving all his money idle, he started investing a small part in safer options that earned more than the savings account. Over time, he gained confidence and diversified, putting money into different types of investments. Money working for you. The big change came a few months later. Carlos noticed something incredible. Even without working more, he was making money. His investments were generating a return, small at first, but growing over time. For the first time, he felt that he didn't just have to trade hours of work for money. His own money was growing on its own. This brought something he had never felt before: security. Now, if he needed extra money, he already had a growing reserve. If he wanted to make a big project in the future, he would have the money for it. And most importantly, he was building a future where he wouldn't have to rely solely on his job to live. Carlos understood that the secret wasn't just saving, but making the money work for him. Time is a great ally of investors, and the sooner he started, the better. If you're not investing yet, you might be missing the chance to change your financial life. It's not about risking everything, but about learning, starting small, and letting time do its job. After all, if money can work for you, why keep working just for money? Many people believe that having a good salary means they are on the right path to wealth. However, this is not the case for most people. The problem is that even with a good monthly income, many people can't get rich. This happens because deep down, the issue isn't how much you earn, but what you do with what you earn. It's easy to fool yourself into thinking a high salary guarantees financial security, but studies show that 97% of people remain trapped in financial traps that slowly eat away at their money. This may sound shocking, but most people who earn well end up, unknowingly, spending uncontrollably and falling into harmful financial habits. These habits, which seem harmless on a daily basis, slowly erode your ability to accumulate wealth. Now imagine this from a more practical perspective. You have a decent salary, but by the end of each month, you can't figure out where the money went. It's like being in a boat without paddles, being carried away by the current. This happens because over time, we lose control of our money, leading us to spend on unnecessary things like impulse purchases, non-essential services, and even things that seem small, but when added up, create a big financial hole. The good news is that this scenario can change. The first step is to identify and eliminate the bad habits you have with your money. When you become aware of what you're doing wrong and start acting strategically, your financial life can change completely. By controlling your finances instead of being controlled by them, you can start making smarter decisions focused on the long term. It's not just about earning more money, but about knowing how to manage it. That's why it's so important to understand that without proper planning, even the biggest salary won't be enough to guarantee your wealth. The secret lies in making conscious choices and building a solid financial future based on what you have today. Many people live in the now, focused only on the present, forgetting to plan for the future. This is one of the biggest mistakes that can sabotage your path to wealth. Focusing only on the immediate might seem convenient, but it's a form of financial procrastination. If you don't have a clear plan for the future, no matter how much you earn, you'll never get there. It may seem obvious, but many people don't know where they're going with their finances. They live month by month without a clear goal. It's like trying to drive a car without knowing the destination. You may be going fast, but in the end, you'll realize that you haven't gotten anywhere. Having a long-term plan means having a defined goal for your money, knowing where you want to go, and understanding what steps you need to take to reach that destination. The key to a good financial plan is thinking about long-term security. What do you want for your retirement? Have you thought about creating an emergency fund? And most importantly, are you making smart investments that will grow over time? When you have a plan, it becomes easier to make financial decisions. Every expense, every investment, every choice you make will be guided by that bigger goal, and that creates the discipline necessary to achieve true financial freedom. For example, instead of spending impulsively, you can choose to invest the money in something that will generate returns in the future, like an investment fund, real estate, or even education to learn new skills. Every small action, when aligned with your long-term plan, will bring you closer to your goal. So what do you need to do? Take a moment, think about the future, and start drawing up a plan. Set short, medium, and long-term goals. Ask yourself, where do you want to be in 5, 10, or 20 years? Your long-term plan will give you focus, direction, and motivation to keep making the right choices. So, did you like this tip to transform your financial life? If yes, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel to get more content that will help you achieve your financial goals. What do you think about starting to plan your financial future today? Let's go on this journey together.